From the UFC boss sweeping the situation under the rug to the notorious attacking the drug testing organization, this is the real reason why Dana White does not care if Conor McGregor is not tested by USADA. Apparently, he just doesn't care. At the UFC 286 post-fight press conference, the promotion's president was asked about the Irishman and where he stands with USADA. Dana responded by saying that he doesn't give a about any of that. In fact, he asked the reporters to get in touch with the UFC senior vice president, Jeff Nowitzki, who's actually responsible for this stuff now. Dana made it pretty clear to everyone that he doesn't want to get involved with anything related to USADA anymore, and that everything that happens is Nowitzki's headache going forward. According to the boss, he has no idea what's going on between Conor and the drug testing organization. And since Jeff is the expert on this, people should call him up for any comments on it. It's kind of weird that White is distancing himself from this. But truth be told, he did get involved in something similar, once granting an exemption to Brock Lesnar back in 2016. And we all know how that kind of blew up in his face, because the Beast Incarnate tested positive for banned substances later. So Dana avoiding the same thing over again doesn't really come as a surprise. Plus, USADA doesn't want to play ball on this either. They're adamant that the Notorious must re-enter their testing pool and stay in it for at least 6 months. McGregor was supposed to meet up with them in March 2023, but he didn't show up. USADA later released a statement that the former UFC double champ hasn't been in touch with them, and that they've received no notice of him coming out of retirement to compete. They also repeated that the 6-month rule was mandatory, because it wouldn't be fair to other athletes if a fighter came out of retirement and gained an unfair advantage due to the use of PEDs. USADA kinda stood up to the UFC by saying that the promotion has a right to make an exemption, but in Conor's case, they don't think that he should be in the testing pool for 6 months. I guess USADA knows more than they're letting on, and obviously means Dana knows about it as well. I bet he tried pushing them to clear Conor anyway, and they just dug in. So the UFC boss decided it was better to get away from it, before the whole thing blows up all over the media. What's even weirder is that even Nowitzki isn't addressing any of these concerns. After Dana directed the media over to his VP, they started asking him about the whole Conor USADA fiasco. Several of the MMA media outlets questioned him on whether the Irishman is being considered to be given an exemption by the UFC, or if he'll be told to enter the testing pool for 6 months before competing. Nowitzki was also asked to comment on the back and forth between the Notorious and the drug testing organization on social media, but there's been no response from the UFC's senior vice president at all. You'd think that they might say something to clear up all the speculations and rumors surrounding McGregor's return to the octagon, but it seems that if the truth comes out, it'll be even more difficult to deal with. If you guys go and check USADA's official website, you'll see that Conor's had 0 tests on his record in 2023. That kind of throws the whole Michael Chandler thing out of the window, because how long do you think the lightweight contender is gonna wait? Of course, they're appearing on the 31st season of The Ultimate Fighter as coaches, but they were supposed to fight at the end of the show. If Mystic Mac isn't cleared by USADA or granted an exemption by the UFC, then that just won't happen. Conor signed up for the whole thing because he thought that he can produce 2 clean tests and off I go, but USADA's rigidity on the issue means that his plans were foiled pretty badly. Iron Mike actually talked about this with ESPN. He thinks that the Irishman picking a fight with UFC's drug testing agency means literally nothing, because it's just Conor being Conor. The Notorious is known for going after guys at different weight classes, sponsors, journalists, almost everyone. And he does that just for attention, so that he can put on a show for the fans. Chandler doesn't really care about any of that. He just wants to fight McGregor ASAP, and 2 clean drug tests are good enough for him. Iron Mike doesn't want to wait around for another 6 months before USADA can clear Conor to fight him. He also revealed that the former UFC double champ is pretty romantic about combat sports, and that's why he's been sticking around, even after all the controversies surrounding him and his alleged drug use. On top of that, Conor also has an ego the size of Texas, so he wants to get in the last word before he hangs up his gloves for good. The Notorious, on the other hand, wants to get inside the UFC octagon, just to hear people chant his name and feel like a god for those few minutes. But if McGregor doesn't deliver on his promise, then it'll be a huge stain on his legacy, according to Chandler. The lightweight contender thinks that Conor's gonna come back to the octagon and believes that they're gonna fight by the fall or max winter of 2023, but if the Irishman bows out of it, then Iron Mike would be one who'd be really disappointed in his fellow Ultimate Fighter coach. That kind of thing would scream nothing but insecurity on Conor's end, because it'd mean that he just wants to stay relevant somehow without honoring any of his commitments. To be honest with you guys, I think Chandler should brace himself for the bad news. Even Chael Sonnen's been warning him of that. The bad guy shared some of his opinions on the return of the Notorious on YouTube, saying that the fans may be excited about Conor's return, but they should be ready for disappointment. Sonnen highlighted the fact that when McGregor and Chandler were asked about the weight they were going to compete at, both of them said a different number, which means that they're not on the same page and don't really know what's going on. Apart from that, no venue has been finalized, there's nothing on sale, no one has tickets to the fight, and there's not even a poster for it yet. The American Gangsta also said that Conor's going up against a very powerful organization in USADA, and when they say that the Irishman has to do certain things and be in the pool for 180 days, then it's a problem because Team McGregor is pretty strong as well, given its huge fan base and Dana's support. So it's just a clash between these two giants, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Having said that, Sonnen told Iron Mike not to get his hopes up too high, because Conor hasn't competed in a long time. So it's likely that he doesn't actually want to anymore. I mean, he may be saying that he's ready to get back in the octagon, but the truth is that it's tough to recover from an injury like the one he suffered against Dustin Poirier in 2021. The Notorious literally broke his leg in half, and that's where most of his problems stem from. He obviously needed surgery to fix it, but it'd take more than that to get him back to his former self. After McGregor started showing up on social media without his shirt, experts started questioning the amount of muscle mass he'd gained in such a short duration. There were rumors of steroids and PEDs being used which can help increase bone density and would aid Conor in recovering from his injury a lot quicker. A side effect of those drugs would be insane amounts of muscle gain. He was obviously not passing the simple eye test. And as you guys know, he's not submitting any samples to be tested by USADA. That smelled funky to everyone, so he just started attacking whoever questioned his new physique, and that included USADA as well. Oh yes guys, even the anti-doping agency isn't safe for McGregor's wraith. He expressed his frustration on Twitter at the organization, claiming that he'd been tested more than 70 times in his career, and has never been found guilty of using any kind of performance-enhancing drugs. Conor added that he wouldn't have his integrity questioned by a garbage organization that thinks that they're the be-all end-all in this equation. This attack on USADA was kinda self-incriminating, and I think Mystic Mac realized it, cause he deleted his post soon after. People obviously had screenshots saved of it, and it kinda blew up all over the internet. Going after USADA only weakens his case, and it causes people to question his motives on top of making him look guilty. But we can't know for sure until something really comes out, and that's unlikely to happen, cause the UFC and the Irishman are playing this one pretty close to their chests. So from the Notorious attacking the drug testing organization, to the UFC boss washing his hands off the situation, this is the real reason why Dana White does not care if Conor McGregor is not tested by USADA.